Right now, I have to stop saying.
Well, I can't say that was a lot of fun. Stars were right in that one, but they didn't win. And in the end, in the playoffs, that's what's the most important. So they lose game 4, down 3-1 in the series, and we're going to break it all down next here on the DLLS Stars Post Game show.
Get ready, boys.
This is the DLLS Stars Post Game show. Our Stanley Cup playoff coverage is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. And by Happiest Hour, your home base and the best place to catch the NHL playoffs and cheer on the Dallas Stars. Just steps away from the AAC. The ultimate spot with 50-plus beers and 40-plus TVs for all the big moments every single game day. Happiest Hour, your favorite spot for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Thanks for joining us here on both YouTube and on Victory Plus. We are live from the DLLS Lounge Studio alongside Craig Ludwig and our producer, John Andersen. I'm Owen Newkirk. That was not an easy one to palate by the end of it because the Stars, for a pretty strong part of that game, played quite well. But boy, Luds, they just create a lot of scoring chances and don't put a lot of pucks in the net right now. Stuart Skinner has been a real foe of this team now for 2 straight conference finals. He's been good. Take nothing away from him, but it feels like the Stars have been almost their own worst enemies right now as far as finishing.
Yeah, they don't finish. I mean, even again tonight, what are there, 5 goals? None of them are 5-on-5.
Yep.
You know, all power play and empty net goals. You know, Stars are out hit 49-21. I mean, that tells a little bit of a story. It could tell that they have a puck a lot, but I just, you know, from the start of this round, the talk about Edmonton is they're a little bit different team than they have been in the past, and they bring a little more grit. They have a guy in each line that is one of those shift disturbers, finisher checks, and just by the stats. And I just think the way that Edmonton plays in front of their goaltender, and their goaltender was good. He needed to make the saves, but they pack it in, and so it's difficult for Dallas to get inside, and they haven't been able to get inside to get. I don't know how many rebound shots that they got. So at the end of it, it doesn't seem like there was a lot of flurries going around in front of the net. And that's mainly because your opponent has a lot of numbers in there. They got a lot of bodies in there. So it was a tough game. But, you know, the one thing I do want to say, though, is credit to Rupe Hintz. You know, I mean, he had to fight through that game. And he probably, obviously not 100%, but he came out and he gave you what he had. And you could tell on a couple plays when he tried skating, you know, he's in some discomfort, but I give credit to that guy knowing how big of a game this was.
Yeah, and you know, Hintz didn't play game 3. He was chopped on the top of the foot in game 2. We watched that little video in the pregame of what he did in between games 3 and 4. So it was yesterday. Sevy pointed out how he got done with that little drill and then kind of shook the foot out. Can't be feeling real great.
Yeah, you know, and it's gonna, if you're not doing anything to it in between periods, things are gonna start to wear off. And you're gonna feel it as the game goes along, and unfortunately, he's probably gonna feel a little bit tomorrow, and then maybe even possibly the next game. So,
boy, I thought he looked, considering what he's going through, and I, you know, we don't know the extent of the injury. He could be playing with a broken foot for all we know. He looked pretty darn good out there tonight.
Well,
and how important he is,
even playing on a foot and a half or whatever you want to call it. He still has his speed, and what he does is when he crosses the offensive blue line, he creates some separation, you know, with being able to play the way he is, and it's one of the things that Dallas has had a hard time doing. I mean, give Edmonton credit; they're very well structured to the neutral zone, and they're able to hold gaps, and you don't see a lot of outnumbered rushes going the other way, and so it's difficult. And then when they do, they get a couple of chances. Their goaltender's been there to make the saves.
We talk about sort of main takeaways or themes of this game. One of them is lack of finishing. Special teams seems to be a big one. You talked about it. None of the 5 goals came at 5-on-5. Did you think Dallas played well enough to deserve a better fate?
I don't know. I mean, I can't sit here and say, like, I think the last game in the second period, we felt, man, that's the period that you want. You know, that was, I didn't see that out of any of the periods. I thought the start of the game was what they wanted to do. I mean, they pinned him in for the first couple minutes, and I think that's the start that you wanted. But again, Edmonton was able to weather the storm, and that's what they did. And a lot of times it's the home team that comes out with that. But I thought, give credit to Dallas because they were all on board. I just don't think they're in position enough to get interior and find second and third opportunities and score some ugly goals.
When we talk about depth, we've spent a whole year talking about the Stars' strength being that they have a deep forward group, especially. Then they get Mikko Rantanen, and that's an even deeper group. And yet, it feels like they didn't have enough lines going. Now, again, I thought they played a pretty decent game overall. And unfortunately, pretty decent and not winning doesn't matter. You can have all sorts of style points. It doesn't matter, right? You got to win the game. Do you feel like Mikko Rantanen has been as good as he needs to be in this series, let alone just this game?
Well, he set his bar fairly high.
Yes.
You know, especially coming out of the box against his old team. And, you know, but again, the teams are different. You know, I think if you go round to round to round, it's gotten a little bit more difficult. And Winnipeg is a more structured team. So it's harder to get opportunities. And this team, we don't, again, I'm impressed with their structure in their own zone and in front of their net. And they don't give up scoring chances easily. So Rantanen's been around it. I think he's feeling a little bit bitten because he's put it into Skinner's glove, it seems like 4 or 5 times. He keeps on trying to find that high glove from that short side. And I think he needs to change that, obviously. Very similar to what Robo did on his goal. Robo on that goal, power play goal, he walks off the wall, gets to the middle of the ice. Right now, Rantanen's not really getting to the middle. He's shooting him from off to Skinner's left, and so the angle is a little bit tougher to score from there.
What about some guys missing in your mind? I mean, again, when I say missing, I don't mean they weren't in the game and weren't trying their absolute hardest, but
you can go down the list.
Yeah.
I don't know. Tell me, well, phrase it a different way.
Okay.
Who were the guys that were on?
Who did you think really stood out well to you?
I don't know.
I mean, early in the game, the Sagan, Duchesne, Marchment line
everybody
looked good.
stood out early in the game.
Yeah.
And that was just the first few shifts.
Yeah.
But from there, it's hard for me to pick out and go, man, that guy had a good game. Because right off the top of my head, I don't see anybody standing out. Do you have anybody that stood out?
I mean,
besides the power play,
I thought Rope, and maybe not his best game of the year, but because of what we know he's going through, he looked like he had a fair amount of jump. He was getting in on plays.
Not good, right? I mean, when you have a guy that missed a game, and we saw the whack on his foot, and you can tell he's in discomfort. So should he be the guy that stands out?
I mean, I was impressed because he stood out. But to your point of, did enough other guys not stand out in the other direction? That's probably fair. I thought Jason Robertson looked pretty good for him as he continues to try to ramp up.
The bar wasn't really high, right?
No, but we a couple games ago we were going, are you getting anything from him?
Right.
Now he scored in consecutive games. He had 4 shots on net. He had 6 attempts. Mason Marchment ended up with 10 shot attempts and 5 hits. Sagan had 4 shots on goal and 8 shot attempts. Duchesne had 6.
But none of those are really that dangerous. You know, I go back.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I'm not saying that they're not dangerous. I just think that they're one and dones. I guess that's more what I'm thinking. It's more, you got a shot here and there, and there was some that from angles and things like that. But again, a lot of that has to do, you know, with the other club and the way they are. And you have to find guys that are willing to go in there. You know who I thought was a consistent line last game, and they generally are, is the fourth line.
Yes.
And even tonight, I didn't see much of Steele and Blackwell.
That line,
and again, I think that's credit to them because they didn't allow them to get interior. So they're doing it against the blue collar guys, the guys that put on their work boots every night and they fight to get space and they create their own space interior. And that didn't happen a lot. They didn't have a lot of extra opportunities either.
Yeah, Beck, Blackwell, and Steele were so good in Game 3 that the Stars scratched Evgeny Dodonov tonight in Game 4 to keep that trio together with Hintz coming back in. And I didn't think they had the jump and the offensive part of it. Now, they also had to try to kill penalties. Unfortunately, the Stars' penalty kill didn't play up to the same level as they gave up 2, and that was a huge difference. They scored a power play goal. They gave up 2. That's -1 in special teams.
And Edmonton's got some dudes out there that
They
can
do.
play on the power play. I mean, they lose Hyman, so that might be a bit of an advantage if he doesn't play again. But regardless, there's a 3-headed monster out there, and it's Bouchard. I mean, Bouchard's got a bomb from back there, very similar to Thomas Harley. But then you have Draisaitl, you have McDavid, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins just seems to be setting guys up left and right out there. So, they've got that weapon. I think they're rolling around 37, 38%, somewhere in that neighborhood. So, again, special teams and goaltending, and Edmonton had it.
You talked about second chance opportunities, and one of the early ones in the game, and we'll get through our whole breakdown here in our next segment, but was a play where Tyler Seguin had a wraparound attempt from the left side of the net. It went wide through the crease, but Duchesne jumped on it, and he hit the right post. And didn't go in, but if he gets that, I just wonder, Luds, here's my whole point to this. We talked about how Pete said the Stars hadn't been playing from in front, playing with the lead, looking how they can do where Edmonton has to open up, and they can be the composed and patient team and go back at it. And here we go again. They could not get the lead. And we saw when they did get the lead in that furious third period comeback against the Oilers, they added to it and put them away. But they haven't been able to in the last 3 games. They've lost 3 straight games against the Oilers after having not lost 2 in a row in the first 2 rounds. They haven't been able to. And I thought, Pete said, I thought our second game was better than our first, and they won the first game. I thought our game 3 was better than our game 2. I agree with that. I thought they were better, but they, didn't get the bounces. I thought their first period tonight was very good for the most part, but they couldn't get the lead. Edmonton, patient, and then, boy, did they have some good looks. I mean, they scored 1 goal, but they had, by my count, 7 high-danger chances in the first period to just 4 for Dallas. So it was definitely quality over quantity for the Oilers.
The same thing that has plagued them from the beginning of the playoffs till now is their 5-on-5 play. Yep. They're not getting it done 5-on-5, and it's always nice to have that special teams and goaltending, like we say, but they're not there. And for whatever reason, I don't know if juggling the lines another way makes things. Maybe you can find a way that Pete thinks that here are my top 6 guys, if whatever they would feel that those guys are. Because I think that, they like what's going on with the top line, and you put Robo up there, and, maybe you can go back and go to that line where if Rope is ready to go next game and he can play again, and, you got Rantanen and Granlund up there, and then maybe there's something with Robo and Wyatt and, somebody, whoever that would be on the right side. Maybe you got to make that kind of call and see, let me get at least 6 guys, because you're going to get matchups now that you're at home. And see if there's, during the regular season, they have all these different combinations that we've seen, and you keep track of all those. Man, this was a good line that I just threw together for a period. Maybe you go back into that book and you find something that worked out there. Maybe it's putting Sam Steele up there, and a guy that drives to the net and opens up space. They got to get somebody that can get in the middle of that pack and is willing to go in there and create something.
I think the thing that is, if I may speak for any Dallas Stars fans, is frustrating is even when they're playing well, there's always the threat of a moment of brilliance from McDavid or Draisaitl or Nugent-Hopkins. They have a couple of big guys, Bouchard occasionally, and the Stars fans want to see their big guys step up and make that play. In the first 2 rounds, we saw that from Mikko Rantanen a ton. I think Miro coming back gave them a nice lift. Robertson coming back, although he wasn't super noticeable against the Jets, and he's gotten better lately, but they want to see somebody for Dallas, whether it's Duchesne, whether it's, Hintz, of course, dealing with an injury, Rantanen, Granlund, you name it, Jamie Benn. They want somebody to grab a game and go, this is my moment, and we're going to take you to that victory, and they just haven't had that.
I think that if it were me, I would be getting my coaches together, and I would be looking at what can we do to get through the neutral zone against these guys, because Dallas's game for a couple years now is about their speed coming through the neutral zone, hitting the offensive blue line, creating some outnumbered rushes. I think they've got to find a way to do that. They did it a lot. We've seen that old flipper play where they'd send 2 guys out into the neutral zone, and it would back people off. I think right now teams have figured that out, and they're not backing them off. But it's a hard play, for a defenseman to be back there and kind of fair catching the puck at times when there's two guys that come flying at you. Maybe that's something that can create, but they have to find a way to create some separation through the neutral zone, because their game is when they enter the zone with speed. And they have guys that can fly, and then maybe they get a couple more passes. But I think they've got to go back, and not that they haven't done this. They've done this, but that's one area I think that we haven't seen any changes, to my knowledge, that I could pick up, that they've changed anything through the neutral zone to allow them to create more heading into the offensive.
All right. Well said. Up next, let's go through it period by period, goal by goal. We'll do our full breakdown. Don't forget your Super Chats. Keep bringing them in, because we are absolutely going to get to every single one of those starting in segment 3 here on the DLLS Stars Post Game Show.
What's up, Stars fans? It's do or die. That's all there is to it. Enjoying the game was not easy tonight, so let's not overthink that. What to wear? Done. Let's change our Stars jerseys out and put something different on. Not sure what to serve your friends? That's even easier. Pick up some pizza, grab some Bud Light, stock up the fridge, get ready for the next game back here in Dallas. See, it's going to be just that easy, just like Bud Light, which is always brewed with 4 simple ingredients for a clean, crisp taste. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Remember, do it responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Thanks, Lids. Let's talk about Empire today. Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We have all been to those big box stores. You wander endless aisles, then somehow you're hauling all of these materials home, looking for an installer, and trying to coordinate everything yourself. Well, you're busy. You could use some help. And those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Don't get overwhelmed. How about having somebody help you so you're not just doing another DIY project? Empire Today is your best bet for new flooring, because they live and breathe flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ball game. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. Pick out the flooring and the right colors for your space right in your own house with your own furniture. How convenient is that? You get precise measurements taken, have all your questions answered, so there's no surprises, and of course, clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. You will even schedule your installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code DLLS. That's right, you heard correctly. $350 discount with the code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/DLLS for full details. All right, let's break this one down line by line, or so to speak. Luds, it was that early chance from Duchesne. I mean, first shift, Steele got a good look early, but it was actually Zach Hyman set up inside of the right circle with a one-timer, and I went, ooh, grade A chance already. And that's sort of how it would win. You look at all these notes, and it's a whole page for the first period. It's a lot of Dallas, 22-9 as far as scoring chances. But a lot of the Stars, Hyman, McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins. Then they get the power play. Nugent-Hopkins gets the backhander right at the low slot. Andre makes the save. And then he, by the way, maybe we talked about a lot on the watch-along, but Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, underreported by some, because they talk about Draisaitl, they talk about McDavid, they talk about Skinner. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was a big part of this series so far. It has been. He sets up Draisaitl. It's a sick shot. Not many people in the NHL can score from there.
Yeah, but he's made a living out of it.
Yep.
And that isn't even one of his hardest angles. I mean, there's times he can get right next to the goal line and somehow find that short side high, and he did tonight. And, we had looked at this at some point during the game, and, when you've got a player like Draisaitl, I think what you have to do is and that's their go-to play. I mean, besides McDavid doing everything on his own, and I think whatever their plan is, you got to take it away from him. And I think Miro tries a little bit, but he's not in the passing lane. And so this shot, this is a good question next time we see Sean, because to me, there's a lot of net here. I don't know. And the thing is Jake knows who this guy is, where he shoots, when he shoots. And so I thought he got out too high here, and it was difficult for him to get back and cover that short side high. But again, Nugent Hopkins, he puts it in the perfect spot, and generally you don't want to put it you want to put it in the player's feet because he wants to be able to come right through. He puts it in the perfect spot. Draisaitl lets it go like clockwork. He ends up hitting it short side, and I just felt like Jake was so far in the middle of the net and out a little bit that it was hard for him to catch up to this one. But again, I look at where Nugent Hopkins is making this pass from. He's not dangerous. He's not even in a shooting position. You can read him that he's playing pass, and he's got pass the whole way. So I think there could have been a little bit more back pressure on him also. But the one thing is I would try to take this guy away. You see nobody else in here. There's no other options for him but to go here. And I think when players see that, especially the strong side, take him away and just don't even give him an opportunity.
The Stars outshot the Oilers 16-10 in the first period. As I said, I had 22 scoring chances. Now, I know Luds and I have a disagreement about if it hits the net or not, but that means Dallas had a bunch of opportunities from good positions and missed the net for one reason or for another.
Oh, I know the reason. There's too many blue jerseys in front.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Again, when they're out there, they're trying to be so perfect because that's all they see. Because the Edmonton plays with literally 5 guys, if they can, will be in front of the net. They put up a force field there, and so that's why shots are going wide.
I do want to give Stuart Skinner some credit, though, because Marchment had a one-timer from the left dot. CC had an open shot on the right circle on the rush. This is after they went down 1-0. And then Rantanen, they had that face-off win right at the end of the period as the power play began. Clean look, but Skinner made those saves.
Yeah, he's been up to the task the whole time now.
So with that, one period down, and you're sitting there going, I think the Stars were the better team in the first period. Yeah, I don't know if it was a massive increase, but they looked like they were on their toes. They were determined to try to go out and get the lead. And Luds, that must have been frustrating for a team that's been trying to get out in front because, once again, like the second period of Game 3, they played quite well, but the results didn't follow suit.
Yeah, and I think they got a good road start. I mean, they pushed them back, and they were on their heels. They got some opportunities. Yeah, they didn't go into the net, and I like that they didn't open things up. And you get into the late in the first and into the second, you could get a little frustrated in that. And sometimes teams fall in the trap of opening things up. Next thing you know, you give a quality scoring chance going the other way. But they pretty much stayed with it the whole game.
One thing that did note that I didn't mention in the first period was Zach Hyman left due to an injury. He did not return to the game. He was not out there for the second period and was ruled out shortly thereafter. We thought that could be a huge blow because of how important he is. But Corey Perry stepped up and filled that role quite well tonight. Yeah,
but it could be a blow for him going forward, regardless of how this all plays out, and especially in the next game back here in Dallas, because it didn't really look like much. I just wondered if it was a shoulder that if you brush up and if you're not bracing for it, sometimes it can pop out, or it was obviously his right arm, right hand, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we'll see where that all plays out for him.
In that second period, it was a little bit more even. The Stars had some great chances, and they would tie the game on the power play. Their first power play was okay. That was the one that started at the end of the period and carried over. But boy, their second one, Harley got a great shot. Marchment had 2 whacks at a rebound in front. Robertson had a look from the right side. And eventually, Jason Robertson would score. This was by far their best power play of the night. They had 4. This was really good from them, and they cashed in. Robo gets his second goal of the playoffs, second in as many games. We played that whole silly bit from the pregame about he wasn't sure if he scored. He thought he did, but didn't think he got credit. Found out in the postgame. This one looked a lot more like Jason Robertson.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he got moved up. You know what I mean? And I think these kind of players, they thrive off of scoring goals and positivity. And I think it was a smart move to move him up, even though it's been a long time. But, this was tic-tac-toe. I mean, these guys moved around. This whole thing starts with a shot from Thomas Harley. And when Harley takes the initial shot, now all of a sudden their top guy has to respect that. He gets in a lane. Now it opens up other lanes. And so they move it around 2-3 times, gets around. Harley moves it back here. And what Robo does is he doesn't try to shoot it from where he receives the puck. He steps into the middle of the ice. When he steps into the middle, he creates a better shooting angle, and then he again spots it. And Skinner's been down a lot, and I think that's why Rantanen's going up there, Granlund's going up there. Robo saw that. He just finds that little hole right there, knows that Skinner's going to go down, makes a great shot. But that doesn't happen. That angle doesn't happen with two things: the shot from Harley that opens up lanes, and then for Robo to step to the middle of the ice and get a better shooting lane.
So I was just looking to see here. It was Kulak, I think, the one that took the knee there, Luds, because I was looking at who was on the ice defensively.
No, I think it was Wallman.
It says Bouchard. They said Wallman wasn't on the ice for the goal. But
yeah, that's the way he goes down. He goes down, and I saw a replay from behind. Well, anyways,
yeah,
regardless.
But
that's
either
the
way,
Wallman goes down like a goalie like that. Yeah.
But either way, the fact that he was able to, Skinner was coming back to cover, not just shoot it into that lane, like you said.
Yeah.
That was a really nice play. Unfortunately for the Stars, not even 3 minutes later, about 2.5, Corey Perry scores on the power play. It came after a Mason Marchment interference call. And look, this was exactly the same penalty they called on the Oilers on Perry. They sort of pick play.
Yep.
They called it. And this is a nice play by Nugent Hopkins to set up the goal. He had 2 primary assists in the game tonight, did RNH. But you didn't like the way it was defended.
Yeah, I just think that, and again, Dallas likes to get out with their forwards. For me, they get out too high. And here Wyatt gets out above the top of the circle, and he's got a long way to come back. But I think from the standpoint of CC, when the player who has the puck, Nugent Hopkins, there's no angle for him to shoot here. And so I think that if CC plays back a little bit more and you allow Nugent Hopkins, maybe brings it to the net, he doesn't see a passing lane here to Perry on the back door, it allows the other 2 forwards and the defenseman and forward time to get back in and help. But when CC goes down, I would lay down because he'd take away almost all the bottom of the ice. He doesn't. He goes down to one knee, and then there's some kind of a crack between the stick and the knee, I believe is where it was. And it bounced off of the leg, I think. But ultimately, it's Corey Perry on the back door, and it's just an easy goal. But it doesn't, again, if he lays down or if he backs off more to the middle of the net, it gives more time to 2 other players, Essa and the other forward, to get back and help here. But Jake has no chance on this one.
The Stars had a power play after that because Matthias Janmark was called for tripping at the 10-minute mark. And boy, Hintz went awkwardly into the end boards on that penalty. And I thought it was funny because Janmark got up to the ref and yelled at him and said, "What are you doing?" I mean, you watch a guy get tripped and it's clearly a penalty. And then, of course, almost all the time the player, unless they're clearly like, yeah, okay, just quiet, almost always bark back at the officials, don't they?
Yeah, I mean,
it's everyone. It's
because
Stars
a lot
too.
of times they're hockey plays and guys get tangled up, and but again, if they're calling it one way, they got to call it the other way.
Well, I mean, remember that Jamie Benn tripping call in the first period, which led to the Draisaitl power play goal. He didn't like it. He was frustrated, but it was a trip on Klingberg. Yep. Okay, so Robertson on that power play drove to the crease. He had a really good look early, and it felt like he was going to get another one, but that was about it. And that was it for the Stars, really. They had a couple of looks, but end of the period, all of a sudden you're down 2-1, and Ludge through 40 minutes. I still felt like Dallas overall was slightly better than the Oilers in the first 40. But as we said in Game 3, now in Game 4, when you're chasing the game, or if you feel like you outplayed your opponent, but you didn't get the result, it can be demoralizing.
What was that stat I had the other day of leading after
just 20 minutes?
After 20 minutes. I had something in here.
I believe it was 1,000%.
So what it is Edmonton, when they were leading at the end of the second period, they were 500.
Yep.
Dallas, when trailing, they are at 444.
Yeah.
So I guess
getting the lead is, I mean, it seems
important.
So trivial, right? So elementary, and yet getting out in front makes it you can kind of dictate and then hit off the other team's mistakes. Both of these teams are very good counterpunching teams. It's very difficult to counterpunch when you're behind.
Well, and the way that Edmonton played that third period, they played it smart. I mean, they got through the neutral zone. If there wasn't anything available for an outnumbered rush, they took it as far as they could, and they just put it in. And so basically what you're doing is saying to Dallas, you're going to go 200 feet if you're going to get any kind of a scoring chance on this. Then they clog up the neutral zone. It doesn't work out. They turn the puck over. They do the same thing. They get an opportunity at 2-on-1, 3-on-2. Yeah, then they go ahead. But it was a smart game. And then next thing you know, and the clock is ticking down. The clock becomes Dallas's enemy in this thing because you're up there and you're watching it. And next thing you know, there's only 12 minutes left. Then there's 9 minutes left. And then you got to try to open up a little.
The shots in the third period, remember, Dallas had 16 in the first to just 10 for Edmonton. It felt like it was more one-sided even than that. It wasn't necessarily that in the second period. It was 10-9 Oilers, 13-4 Edmonton in the third. They had all the quality chances. Dallas had no high dangers until that Jamie Benn chance, low right circle that was a good save by Skinner. But other than that, it was, think about this. You're ahead by one. Podkolzin had a great look. Perry had a great look. Kane on a 3-on-2. Draisaitl on the power play. And then, of course, the 2 empty net goals. Dallas down a goal could not. That was talking about managing the third period, lads.
Proof why coaches want to play good defensive hockey.
Yep.
It's more frustrating than anything is that you can't get through, you can't create anything, and then you try to push a little bit more. You try to add another player there. Same thing happens. You create a turnover. Now you're going down the other way in an outnumbered rush, and that's what Edmonton was waiting for. They played a smart third period.
Are you ready for the totally reasonable, tempered, calm, and not at all emotional super chats?
Yeah. Where are we going? We going someplace else for this, or because they ain't going to be here? I'm assuming.
All right.
That lead up.
Let's unleash how you feel. Super chats coming up next on the DLS Stars Post Game Show.
First, it's Mando. Mando is men's deodorant brand that's focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Every aspect. Mando overtly calls out parts of men's bodies such as pits, belly buttons, butt cracks, your giblets, or grundle, whatever you want to call it. Their sweet sense of gear are geared toward men, with options like bourbon leather, Cloverwoods, and Mount Fuji. Not sure on that one. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Clinically proven to block odor all day. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off Starter Pack Beanbag with our exclusive code. Use code DLLS at shopmando.com.
Thanks, lads. Let's talk about Game Time. Game 5 is a pretty important one coming up at the AAC. Why don't you use Game Time to make sure you're in the building? The Stars need you. Obviously, they need to win this one or they go home for the summer. Not only that, but the NFL schedule releases have been out for a couple weeks now. Tickets are available. I know a lot of people are already planning their calendar for the fall to pick which games they want to go to. Game Time has been an absolute life hack for unlocking amazing seats and experiences for a great price. And do you know that with exclusive discounts, you'll find great seats for as low as $100 for NFL tickets, and occasionally they even get cheaper at the last moment. And, maybe not. I'll tell you one thing. The Game Time guarantee knows you'll trust 100% authentic NFL tickets. And all, whether it's sports, theater, concerts, comedy, great from Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, lads, we have close to 30 Super Chats already in the queue. We still have to talk to Sam in Edmonton. So I think we're going to have to try to get through these without lingering too much on each one. We usually like to take our time and really talk out your Super Chats. This is your hard-earned money. And
talk you down.
Right, talk you down off the ledge. We'll do that, but I think we're going to have to do a little bit rapid fire. All right, John, keep us moving here tonight.
Bing bang.
We will start with Tocino Man with a pretty generous Ottinger and Sagan. Why does it look like the Stars don't care? Tired?
No, I'm telling you, sometimes it's the opponent, and they can make it look that way. These guys care. They knew coming into this thing that they felt that they were going to be in the finals, and right now it's going to be tough for them to get there, but they're not there. There's more than that. It's an opponent that's doing this thing to them.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Bing bang.
Ari Rosen with a Robertson. How 24-25 Dallas Stars would it be to bring this series back from 3-1? It feels like crazier things have happened this season. It would certainly be a nice change of pace from what everybody felt like was happening as they were losing this game. Our chat got very negative.
There's no reason this team can't come back here and win this game. I mean, the fans, the building, everything else, they play well at home. So just start there.
Step one, win Game 5, obviously, right? You got to win at home. They can go to Edmonton and win a game, and then it's an absolute roll of the dice in a Game 7 in Dallas.
Step one. Don't even think about anything else.
Doesn't matter 2 and 3, but it would be fun, wouldn't it? All right, let's go to the next one.
I'm trying to follow the dollar amounts here, but Socially Distant just gave us a trilogy, so we're going to go through those three.
Okay, Socially Distant with a Bischel and a Petrovic. Why don't butts make good secret keepers? Oh, I see. We're doing a joke. Because they will always spill the beans when sitting down. Okay. So there's
Bing
another
bong.
joke going on here. With a Haskinen and Lindell. How do you know a butt is happy? It's all smiles.
Bing bong.
And then this is a Hintz and a Rantanen. What did the left butt cheek say to the right butt cheek? If we stick together, we can stop all this crap. Sounds like a Mando line of jokes, doesn't it?
I think there might have been a. Oh yeah, there was another one.
Bing bong.
Wait, hold on, it's the same one. There we go.
Socially Distant with a Haskinen and a Hintz. What do you call an ox with a big butt? Buttocks.
I could see that one.
I know. Thank you, Socially Distant. We appreciate
Bing bong.
I'll attempt at a little humor here on
Hold on, one more.
Oh, we got another one.
It's a saga.
Blackwell and Steele. Not to state the obvious, but I look forward to seeing them get pucks deep, get pucks on net, shoot, and watch their backside on Thursday. Bing bong. Thank you for the saga.
Finally through that. Mercifully. If you're listening to the audio, hit skip 15 seconds about a minute ago a couple times if you don't want to deal with that.
Bing bong.
Stephen Craig with a Capo Bianco in Year After the Cup. The Oilers are just better. When it looks like the Stars are in control through stretches, they aren't. Oilers putting on a clinic on how to beat us, forcing and absorbing the easy shots and skate out like nothing happened and stroll in.
They're playing with composure, and nothing seems to phase them or panic them. And it's easier when you get out to the lead.
Oh, this is Socially Distant with the
Yeah, that's
5
Socially
spot.
Distant.
There goes the hat trick hat that fell a little short.
Didn't even come close. What am I, the Stars on a power play tonight?
Oh, that's
Oops.
not nice. They did score one.
Bing bong.
Mark Lowry with a Capo Bianco in the Year After the Cup. Let's not take anything away from Pete, but don't bring this back next season. 3 seasons in a row, fantastic, but the window closed. And one thing we already know, this virgin can't win a cup. Ask the Golden Knights. Okay, quick one here, Luds. Pete DeBoer took your team to the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago, last year, and for the 3rd time this year, while dealing with Sagan being out long-term and then Haskinen being out long-term as well. He has another year left on his contract. He's going to be the head coach of the Dallas Stars next year. We talked about this with Sean in a segment on our show a while back, I think either before or right at the beginning of the playoffs. Whether he gets an extension before next season, that kind of has to do with whether or not he wins the Stanley Cup or not.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't he done a fairly good job? It hasn't got you, to the end of the rainbow, but as they say, there's only one of those every single year. It's not easy to get there. So
31 teams are disappointed with their seasons, right?
Well,
now
some of them are happy just to get into the game, but yeah.
But none of them are. There's only one team that's truly happy, and for the Final Four, you're one of the last 4 teams standing. I know that's not enough consolation after a game like this and how the series is going, but there are a lot of teams that would kill to switch places with you right now.
Yeah.
Bing
Go to the
bong.
next one. Kayla with a Masterton and a 99 Cup here. Starts a Gould. Look into playing soccer where hitting it isn't allowed. Nil and a new head coach should trade the talent away for some brute body banging strength.
Well, I mean, you can. That's probably a good argument. I can understand where you're going. Add a little sandpaper to the lineup. I don't know if there's a lot on this. And again, you get into this and just look at what Edmonton did.
Well,
right?
would you like them to go after a possible free agent signing of Brad Marchand? I know that would make John happy.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to come up with another 10, but I think there's a guy by the name of Bennett that might be out there that's in play too.
Boy, if they have any cap room, there's no chance.
No, you don't.
Yep. All right, let's go to the next
Bing
one.
bong.
The Pit 34 with a Canadian Oscar Beck in Year After the Cup. Stu, obviously an Oilers fan. Great game, Dallas fans. That dry goal, though, we need to start calling that spot Dry's Den.
I thought that was
Much love to you all.
For Barnesy.
Oh, it could have been for Stu Barnes, but I'm going to guess that one was for Skinner.
Bing bong.
Christian with a Madonna and 99 Cup here. Saw someone say this. Dallas in the 2020s is slowly becoming the San Jose Sharks of the 2010s. GM praised left and right, lots of play success, but nothing to show for it yet. Agree or disagree?
You know, they talk about the window, and Dallas's window was open 2-3 years ago, right?
Yep.
And then as that window, you know, you end up getting a few guys that are a little older, they get a little slower, and that's what they mean about that window closing. But I think this team is set to continue. You know, and again, depending on what happens, a couple guys here, we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, they made a huge trade for Rantanen. We'll talk a lot more about this in the offseason shows, but it's not as though this is the last. Sagan said this the other day, and it's important. You don't get to go to the third round and beyond 3-4 years in a row, 5 years in a row. It just doesn't happen very often. You have the point for him at that time was seize the opportunity. But this is not a team that you look at it and say 90% of the roster is on its last leg, and if they don't win now, there's a long sort of merry-go-round going on with this group. But you also, you know,
I'm sure there's some spots here where if things came along, if there's some certain players kind of open up that Jim would be, you know, entertaining, because I mean, at the end of the day, again, we're talking about, we're doing an autopsy here. You know what I mean? Like, we're
not dead yet.
We're not there yet. So, but I mean, eventually, regardless of how it turns out and when it turns out and things like that, you have to take a good look at your team and go, what happened here, if that's what happens.
Yeah.
Bing bang.
Right. Smith fan 22 with a Madonna 99 Cup year. The fans saying fire Pete, need to chill. He is a fantastic coach, back-to-back seasons where they had the toughest route to the Stanley Cup final. That's a good point, because
I like that point, because I heard today, I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about Edmonton, that they had the toughest trip to this.
Game five.
Well, I'm not,
First two rounds?
toughest opponents.
Right.
I'm like, really?
They beat the Kings in 5. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights in 5.
I'm not really sure if those two teams are bigger and better than Colorado and Winnipeg.
I don't think so at all.
So I was surprised, but again, they're playing well.
You know, the funny thing is, I've seen this on Twitter the last couple of days. And I've been a proponent, Luds, of going to the 1-versus-8 conference playoff seeding with reseeding after the first round, rather than the divisional playoff format, which is currently on. The irony is that the two conference finals would have been first round matchups if they went 1 through 8. Yeah. Dallas is the 3 seed in a 1 through 8. Edmonton was the 6, and it would have been Carolina hosting Florida. It's kind of goofy how that works. Who knows first round what it would have shaken out, because Edmonton started very, very poorly.
Bing bang.
Cam with a Bischel and a 99 Cup year. Florida, Carolina, and Edmonton have the one quality Dallas does not have in the conference final. That quality is physicality. Love my Finnish Mafia shirt. Good night. Thank you, Cam, for the shirt comment. Luds, I mean, Stars and Hurricanes have each won the same number of games. Are you really going to try to say Dallas is the one team odd man out of the 4?
Well, are we talking about the quality of physicality?
That may be fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's fair. I mean, how many, again, it's the way the team is built, and everybody's happy with the team all year long when you're playing. But again, different, you have to have teams that can win in the playoffs, and whatever you feel it is. And I'm one of the guys on that side. I mean, again, if you're getting out hit 2-1 every night, it takes a toll on you, especially in the playoffs, you know, over a period of time. Is that the reason that this is going like this? I'm sure it has something to do with it, but I don't know if it's solely that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because the earlier super chat, they were complaining, 3 years conference final, and they can't get any farther. They're losing. And they go, would you rather be in bankruptcy? Would you rather be a team that's a border bubble team that is either in or out, that can sort of sneak in and get trounced in the first round, or not even make the playoffs and just wallow in sort of this weird, we got to think about reloading, retooling, or rebuilding? I understand that everyone is frustrated that this team isn't surging at the moment to a Stanley Cup final and to win the cup, because that's what we all want. But as we said earlier, your team doesn't get to win every year, and most teams, right, 31 of 32 don't win the Stanley Cup every year. So it's unreasonable to think that you can't enjoy a good season and get to the third round. You know how hard it is to get to the third round? I mean, you have one of the arguably best players ever to play the game, Alex Ovechkin, I believe got past the second round once, Luds.
I would believe,
won a cup,
though, and again, this would be for you guys that can all fact check this kind of stuff. Teams that get to their 3 years in a row to the third round, how many of them don't actually ever get to the finals?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right, that's the point.
I mean, but are there going to be more teams that actually finally do get to the finals out of those? You know what I mean? Like, if you get to the third round X amount of times, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it may be, because you should be growing like that.
Sure.
And the team should be changing and always learning from that year. What did we need? Like, again, I go back to, what Mr. Hicks had said to Bob Gainey a long time. What is it going to take us to get past Detroit? Which would have meant, ultimately, it meant get past Colorado. And it was that guy.
And to
so
be
are they
fair,
asking themselves that? Now, that was a free agent thing.
I was going to say,
yeah.
to be fair, it was easier to maintain and build and not lose in the late 90s.
Yeah, but you can do this kind of stuff in the offseason. I mean, you don't
right,
have
but
to
you didn't have the salary cap is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so you said, hey, which guy do we need? Go get Brett Hull.
Yeah.
You weren't worried about whether you could fit him under your cap. That was the one difference there. But yeah, and look, to those that are whining in the chat of, I'm making excuses and you're feeling like this is nonsense. I'm not telling you should be satisfied. I'm just saying you should be at least enjoying your team as relevant and competitive and not just a team that's, you could be Chicago right now. You having any fun? Next one.
Bing bang.
Yeah, we'll do one more. Tyler with a Canadian Bischel in 99 Cup year. If the Oilers didn't have that catastrophic collapse in Game 1, the Stars would have only scored 3 goals all. Yeah, sure. If the Stars hadn't won a game and scored a bunch of power play goals, but they did. So ifs, ands, or buts.
Ball, she'd be,
Yeah, exactly. All right. We'll get to the rest of your Super Chats and talk to Sam next here on the DLS Stars Post Game Show. First, let's talk about the DLLS Die Hard program. If you haven't been there already, you should certainly consider signing up because it's an absolutely fantastic value. And, of course, you can scan that QR code down to the corner near Luds. Use that. That'll take you to the alldls.com website. And doing the Die Hard program, sign up today. You will get a free DLLS t-shirt of your choosing for your first year of your annual subscription. You can pick one like mine. This is one of the DLS flag shirts. They come in a multitude of colors. Very bold, easy to see, pretty clear. You know what it is. But there's also a lot of Star stuff for the playoffs. Very fun designs. If you want to pick, the Otter shirt is a really fantastic new looking one. You've got the Jake Ottinger, the Mikko Rantanen Moose, along with the Jamie Benn captain shirt, visor. We just had those we were wearing the other day. How about Wyatt Johnston's 16-bit that goes well with that Mike Modano, or even the Mikko finisher? Just some of the options. Lots of things to choose from the merch store, and that's only part of it. Finish Mafia. Oh, how could you forget that? What a great looking shirt. Because it also gives you access to all the writing. So whether it's Sam or Sean's pieces that they put on our alldls.com website, it could be Tim Cato with the Mavs, it could be Clarence or Joe with the Cowboys, and of course, Jeff Wilson with the Rangers. We also just started a Dallas Wings podcast this week covering the WNBA team. Of course, everyone's very excited about Paige Becker. So DLS is growing. You signing up to be a diehard helps with that. It gives us, of course, a lot more support and helps us continue to get more and more access, reach, coverage, you name it. Plus, we do a lot of fun things. We've had some meetups. We've had some in-person events. We have more of those to be planned going forward as the company here in Dallas part continues to grow. So alldls.com, sign up to be a diehard today. All right, John, should we say hi to Sam or continue some Super Chats first?
We don't have Sam, so we cannot say hi to him.
Well, that answers my question. More Super Chats for you. That is going to have to get a little bigger. Eric writes in with a Haskinen 99. This series feels already over. If you were running the Stars, what would you do to improve the team to finally get over the hump? Before you answer that question, let's.
I didn't even hear it. I was laughing with John.
Because it was tiny and it was.
I was like, I wanted him to pop up.
That's going to have to get bigger.
I wanted you to pop
just
up
popped right into my brain.
I wanted you to bring up the Man of Steel dude there because there's X-ray vision. Because I was like,
oh,
whoa.
yeah.
Oh, Sam Steele? I don't know what that is. My brain went to one place and I knew I couldn't make eye contact with Luds.
With Carolina, they got trounced in the first 3 games by Florida in the Eastern Conference Final, right? And everyone's saying they should, out of, respect to the conference final, out of the best thing for Carolina, they shouldn't even make them play the 4th game. They should just, that literally I saw this all over.
I think TNT and ESPN would have something
Oh,
to say
yeah. And the Hurricanes would too. But I saw a ton of this after game 3 as this is over, stop the fight, throw in the towel. They shouldn't even have to play game 4. Well, what happened in game 4, Lutz?
I think they snuck out a win.
And Carolina won, and now they get a home game.
Who got that game winner?
I believe that might have been Stanky.
That's right.
Yeah, Freddie Andersen pitched a shutout, and they got the win. They found a way. So that's my point, is that let's play game 5 and see how it goes. But as far as the question of what would you do to get this team over the hump?
Again, I think you have to sit down and you have to go through all of this, and they have been doing that. They're going, and there's pieces here that they think they can probably improve, but like Owen said earlier, it's got to fit in. It's got to fit into that salary cap. The cap go up next year, or is it the year after? When does it start going up?
Oh, next year. But they also added,
it goes up to like 95 then, or something like that.
They added $12 million to Rantanen, so that's how they could pull it. Because remember, Rantanen right now is on $2.5 million.
There may be a couple players that you slice off $5 to $8 million, and you find a guy. You know what I mean? If you've got a game plan. Again, there's 31 other teams that are going to be thinking about this too.
Yeah, and there's some intriguing free agents. Obviously, Mitch Marner's a huge one. Let's get to Sam over at Rogers Place. Sam, how you feeling right now?
Squirrel.
Yeah, not great. That was disappointing. Fun arena to be in, as I expected, but was hoping to hear a little more crickets because of Stars goals and not as many cheers and screams and horns as we heard tonight. Just a bummer of a trip. I know I wasn't even here for game 3, but looking at both games where they get outscored 10-2 in the 2 games, I know a bunch of empty netters, but it's just not what they wanted, obviously, to come here, and the frustration has set in. If you didn't see it already in game 3 tonight, especially in the third period, a lot of breaking sticks on the bench and frustration, screaming, hearing players in the locker room just slamming stuff around. I mean, it has built up, and they fully feel what Stars fans are feeling right now, which is that they just can't buy a goal.
Which
that's not a good sign.
Is not a great sign.
That Sam heard that.
Yes.
I don't like that because, again, give yourself a chance, guys. It's okay to be mad and frustrated and things like that, but it's different. You can lose your marbles, when game 4 is in the books. If when you lose that 4th one, that's different. But not now. There's still some road yet.
I'll say that there's belief as well. There's frustration, like I said, but there's belief. Mikko Rantanen said it best. The series is not over until somebody wins 4 games. And as cliche as it is, and as much as it's, often said, you got to focus one game at a time. I think I heard Owen talking about it right before I came on here. They have a home game. They've been really good at home in the playoffs. They have a chance to extend this series. It doesn't matter what the numbers are. It doesn't matter what the stats are. You can win one game, and that is all they need to do to get back here and give themselves a chance to win another game. And like we said when Winnipeg won their game, I think it was game 5, said if they find a way to win game 6, their chances are pretty good if they go back home and win game 7. I know we're talking 2 games away here, but this team has done things that we have not believed they would do, and that includes beating Colorado without 2 of their best players and beating Winnipeg in 6 games, even though they weren't playing their best hockey. They got a chance if just a couple things happen here. I know it's crazy, and I know the Stars fans don't want to hear it, but the classic money puck, I think it is, the deserve to win-o-meter or whatever it's called, was sitting at like 80% for the Stars. They're creating high danger chances. They're creating scoring chances. They're beating the Oilers 5-on-5. It just all has come down to execution in either the big moment or the big area. And for me, I'm sure, as Lud's already talked about on this show, they're not playing hard enough when it gets to that area or that moment. And that means the small plays in front of their own net, the Corey Perry type of tap-ins around their own net, the chances once they get to Skinner. I still have yet to see Stuart Skinner really have to be amazing. He's got great numbers, but when have you guys seen him stretching out and making saves, or having to deal with a bunch of traffic, or having to hustle around with pucks that are getting jumbled around because the Stars are poking and jabbing at it? I just don't think they've made it tough enough on him, and I don't think they've made it tough enough on Edmonton around their net and around Jake Ottinger. And then you look at the key moments and execution in those moments. I mean, would they win 70% of the faceoffs? Then they get the chance, they kill the penalty, 6-on-5, 2 minutes to go, just need a goal, lose a faceoff, lose a race, empty net goal, game's over. It's just come down to that over and over and over again. And it's frustrating and it sucks and all those things. And I'm with you guys, Stars fans. I hear you. I see you on my Twitter. But they have a chance, and they had a chance again tonight. And as much as it's very hard to come back from a 3-1 deficit, they have a chance to win a game and at least force it to come back here and try to turn this thing around. And I think that's the focus right now. Miro Heiskanen said, all we can do is focus on going home where we've been really good and win one game. That's it.
Yeah, it's not often you grab your bucket list and look at it, and on your bucket list it says go to Edmonton in the springtime. You know what I mean? But it's on there now. You know,
Yep.
You got to want to go to Edmonton in the springtime.
Well, Sam, anything else you want to add? We apparently have a ton more super chats, and there's probably no way for us to finish them before we get into overtime. So the floor is still yours if you have anything you'd like to share with us before we get back to those.
Yeah, no, I think that was mostly the message. Pete DeBoer said, Pete DeBoer is getting shorter and shorter with his press conferences as this has gone along. As I said, the frustration is within him as well. He really didn't like that they were missing the net so much, especially in the first period. Said it might have been, you're not scoring goals. There's kind of two responses when you're not scoring. You grip the stick a little hard and maybe it bounces off your stick, or you think too much and don't get the shot off, or you try to be too perfect and you miss the net. And we saw a lot of those in the first period. And then on the flip side, it was better in the third period once they actually got shots. So I think they only had one shot through like the first 11 or 12 minutes of the third. But once they got shots, they were hitting Skinner right in the chest. So I'm not sure which one's better. I mean, I guess you give yourself a chance to score if it hits the goalie in the shoulder or the chest rather than missing. But right now, they're just not finding. Jason Robertson was the perfect example. That's the kind of shot that you need to have to score in the playoffs on an outside shot. Other than that, most of the goals come in the Corey Perry type of front of the net poke-ins. So for Dallas, they either need to do that and go really hard to Stuart Skinner, bumping. I love Jamie Benn running right through him when he was in his way. Bump him a little bit, make it a little more chaotic around him, or you need to have those shots that are going to beat him because he's beatable. I know his numbers are good. I said it multiple times already, but he is beatable and he's gotten lucky a few times. They need to make him pay, and they need to show him and remind him that he's not this swagger goalie that's walking out of the locker room like he's on top of the world. And so far, they've done nothing to do that. And he is riding high. He is locked in. Daryl Ray told me on the way out, he's not thinking right now. He is in the zone, and the Stars need to get him out of the zone.
Sam, is there anything from we talked about the atmosphere of the building pregame? Anything you watched during the game tonight that you that stood out to you?
Yeah, a lot of unique dressed human beings. We know the Stanley Cup woman that's out there at the watch parties. Yeah, costumes, whatever you want to say. There's people in the Dumb and Dumber orange suits with Oilers stamped on them. A lot of wigs and painted faces. People with masks that I don't know how they can even see the game through them. A lot of taunting Jake Ottinger. They were chanting Jacob, which was actually funny because I did not know that was his real name, but I looked it up. It is his real name. So taunting Jake Ottinger. Then they started going to the U.S. backup, which I thought didn't make any sense because they don't have the U.S. starter like the Winnipeg game. But no, it's a fun environment and a lot of wild stuff going on. These fans love their hockey up here.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam. Don't go anywhere if you want to stick with us, or if you want to start getting on that hitchhike trip back to Dallas, you're welcome to do that. All right.
All right, boys. Good times. Good times.
See you in June.
Yep. By the way, Sam, is there, I don't want to jinx it here, is there a chance you're going to be in studio with Sean and Luds and me tomorrow?
Oh, come on.
I am supposed to land at 1:00. So if there are no
not a
delays
chance.
whatsoever,
Okay.
no,
John, take
there's no
notes.
chance.
Don't put a chair out for Sam tomorrow.
No
All right.
chance.
Safe travels, Sam. Thanks for the report. Glad you made it there. And please fly home safely.
All right, boys. I'll see you right at the start of Game 5.
All right. Well, we'll do that on Thursday night. That's Sam Nestler reporting live from Rogers Place. And we would like to remind everybody that we're going to get to some Super Chats here in overtime. So let's do that next. Thank you very much for all those who joined us on our television platforms. Make sure to like and subscribe here on the pod. Check out our website, alldlls.com.
Bing
All
bang.
right. We got a bunch of Super Chats, Luds. Ryan writes in for the Masterton 99 Cup here. I don't have a lot of hope after this game. It's unfortunately been the same problem every year. Can't score in the Western Conference Final, sadly.
Yeah, you might get another, got to find another big gun maybe. Although you'd say, wait, we have Wyatt. We have Robo.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you just got to see if these guys can do it at the right time of the year.
Yep.
Bing bang.
Bruno with a Madonna and a Zubov. Every tender left has a shutout but Jake. Love me some Otter, but he's not getting it done. Is that fair to put that all on Jake of he's the one that's got to go steal one for them?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to say that he's got to get a shutout, but again, in games like this, like I said, you look at the goals tonight. I mean, the guy that scores the first one, pretty good shooter. And then the other one, that's coverage for me. So,
yep.
Not for me tonight. Now, has he been as good as first round? No, I don't know if he's been the same guy overall in this round.
Boy, Skinner's numbers, he's got an over 930 save percentage in this series. Remember, going into this round, he had 2 shutouts, but then he was dreadful before that. And they touched him up for 5 in the first game, but they have not been able to do what they have. 2 goals in the last 3 games. It's not going to win a lot of playoff games when you can't get at least a couple goals. Yep.
Bing bang.
Marshall second with a Lundqvist and year after the Cup. This may not be popular, but we have a top 4. We have our top 4 of the league 3 years running. Why blow up the team? We need some tweaks, but we have a great core.
Yeah, and I think that it would be a tweak. It would be some kind of an element that when you sit down at the end of this thing is all over with, like, you have to be honest, like, what are we missing?
Yep.
There's you might have to change your identity of the team a little bit. You got to add something to it.
Bing
pretty
bang.
Close. It's just close might not be good enough. Christian with a Heiskanen 99 double shift Rantanen again. Feels like that was what the last time he looked looked great offensively. Just trying to think of what they can do differently.
Well, you got to change something. You got something in the bag. You better pull it out because you got to find a way now.
And not to
Bing
sound drab, but don't you think the Stars kind of tried to do that tonight? Right? They've been throwing the kitchen sink at these guys in one way or another. All right, Christian, again, I just don't like DeBoer's style of hockey, or I don't think DeBoer's style of hockey can win a cup. Great playoff runs, great regular season, but what's the issue, his style or the personnel?
Well, I think one leads to the other, because I think when you come in as a coach and GMs are interviewing people, and if you ask the coach, what kind of style do you play? My response is if they're interviewing me, I'm going to say, what kind of players are you going to get me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can't force feed a style if you don't have the roster.
Yeah, but again, you have to have a belief in the identity that you feel is going to get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so and again, is this the right identity on this team? You know what I mean? Like, or is this a regular season kind of team that when it ramps up, you can't fight through some things? So that'll be a conversation they'll have.
Bing bang.
Christian, another one with a DeSmith and 99 Cup year. Stars look tired in their heads and out of ideas.
John looks tired too. He can't even get it over the lights.
Yeah, that was a very half-hearted hat throw. It went. I don't even know if it made the camera. Did it?
Clip the camera.
Okay,
yeah.
so you got it.
Bing bang.
PB talks with a Brendan Smith and year after the Cup. Am broken now. Good luck forcing a game 6.
Thank you.
Bing
Thanks.
bang.
Reed with a Heiskanen 99, completely gutless third. When is this on the coaches? ? 3 straight years of this. He can't get over the hump. Team is beyond soft. Bring in Sam Bennett.
You're gonna need some. You're gonna need some cash.
Well, or move some serious roster player. I mean, blowing up teams is not easy to do.
Bing bang.
Reed with a Heiskanen 99. Still no lack of retaliation for Hintz. I think he means lack of retaliation. All that needs to be said about how soft this team is coached. I don't care. That's not our style.
Well, and also in defense of what happened tonight, it's a 1-goal game and you're trying to win the hockey game. So, I think if it gets a little more out of hand. I mean, they're trying to find a way to tie it up, and the last thing you want to do is take a dumb penalty. But
do you think that the anger about that is that they want to see the Stars at the end of the game do like what the Panthers would do, which is just start running around and being knuckleheads and get a bunch of penalties and say, hey, we're not going to go without our pound of flesh?
I think they're basically saying they want somebody to, get back at nerves.
How'd that do with Jamie Benn against Mark Stone a couple years ago in the conference final?
That was early on, too.
It was the third game of the series.
That's what I mean. It was too early for that. That's what I mean. It's like, you're still trying to find a way to win this thing. And again, you may see something, if the game gets out of hand in the next game, and it may be game 6 or game 7 if it happens at all. It might not even be till next year. It depends on how the game unfolds. At the end of the day, the most important thing right now is to try to get to the next game.
Bing bang.
General Nutsacks. Great name. It's time to remove Ben's captain status.
Okay. That's your opinion.
Bing bang.
Socially distant, another one. If I own the hockey team, this is Hayskin in 99. If I own the hockey team by all the super positive Stars fans, P.S. you must be really fun at parties. Thanks for the laugh there. Mark Lowry with a Brendan Smith in year after the cup. Hire Laviolette next week. Again, I understand the feeling, but they are not firing Pete DeBoer with a year left in his contract.
Bing
I'm
bang.
pretty confident in saying that. Mark with another one. I think our moose has been neutered.
Bing bang.
Chris Canada with a DeSmith 99 cup here. Maybe double shifting Rantanen caught up to them. I mean, you got him here.
That could be true.
Bing bang.
And last one.
Stephen Craig with a Brendan Smith and a year after the cup. Honest opinion, can this group go the distance? I felt pretty confident about this after winning against both Colorado and Winnipeg, but certainly doubting things at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, now last one.
And then Stephen with another one. Go get Mitch
Steven.
Marner, another guy who blanks in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah.
Now we're just angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're in the locker room breaking sticks and throwing stuff now. So, all right. Big thank you to everybody for all the super chats. I know that was a lot, but we appreciate the interaction, even if it's times that makes us want to pull the hair out and stuff like that. Game 3, Game 4. Now we're going on to Game 5. Stars still in it, but backs against the wall. Luds, as you said, don't worry about 6 and 7. Win 5 first.
The only thing that's in front of you right now. And John, make sure you don't play the very same thing. Change it up going out tonight.
Huge thank you to our presenting sponsors tonight, both Bud Light and Happiest Hour for presenting the show. Guess what? Sean Shapiro, barring any knock on wood travel issues, will be in studio with us tomorrow. So it'll be Sean, Luds, myself, and John. And as we heard, not Sam, of course. And 2 o'clock, regular show tomorrow. What are we going to talk about, Luds?
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be plenty.
Yeah. So
we'll talk about redoing the team over.
Yeah, we'll do. Just blow it all up. Be easy to do. Thank you very much for joining us tonight from the pregame, the watch along, the postgame. For John Andersen, Craig Ludwig, Sam Nestler, I'm Owen Newkirk. Thanks very much. We'll see you tomorrow for our regular show here on DLLS.
We all silly like the mayor.